Andrea Swensson here from the local show, talking right now to MC Longshot. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, it's been 11 days since the killing of George Floyd. Our cities have been through so much, and I know that you've been out and about. I actually saw you on a unicorn riot,
Yeah.
being stopped to do an interview towards the beginning of all of this. And I was just wondering, to begin with, talk, take me through what this 11-day period has been like for you. What have you been seeing? What have you been doing?
Um, First off, rest in peace, George Floyd. Condolences to his family. I want to send healing to the whole Black community, specifically, but definitely on the whole city of Minneapolis and the whole state of Minnesota and our United States of America and the world as a whole. I'm sending love and healing. Just want to start out with that. The last 11 days have been deeply, deeply, deeply effective on my life in terms of emotion, spirituality, um, connection with other people, in terms of race relations. I'm just going to be flat out. I've had to reevaluate my relationships with white people, each and every one of them. Each and every one of them. I don't care if I've known you for 20 years. I have to go back now and reevaluate like who's really on my side. Also with people in my life who are of color, I had to reevaluate those relationships. And the reason why I say that is because at the very beginning of these protests, the day after George was murdered, we all gathered at the memorial site, which is now 38th in Chicago, the site of his murder. We all gathered at that initial gathering, and I didn't really know what was going to go on, right? Um, Let me also say that my history in terms of protesting have been varied, right? And I've always had a very self-conflicting view on where I played a role in all of that, right? And it's specifically two ways that I would protest police, or that I used to practice, that I have practiced protesting police, that made it conflicting for me, right? One way was I used to reverse profile police in Chicago. I would wave them down, flick them off, and then they would stop, pull over, and they'd get out their car and they'd be like, "Why'd you do that?" And I'd say, "Well, this is what you do to us. You pull us over for no reason and harass us for no reason and call us all names. So I'm going to do that to you, you racist pig. Leave us alone. Stop profiling." And I go on. And I never got arrested, never got accosted, never, nothing would happen. They just stand there and be like, "Are you on medicine?" Or, you know, and so nothing would happen, right? I wasn't really doing anything, right? So then I got to Minneapolis and I started marching because I had never marched before. So um, Jamar was killed, and I joined the march on the north side with them, and we're marching. Orlando gets killed. We occupy the fourth precinct. We're sitting, we're sitting, we're sitting, we're marching, we're sitting, we're sitting, we're chanting, we're marching, we're sitting. This happened, and I was done with marching, with sitting, with chants. And so, with all of that, I get to the initial Tuesday protest, memorial, remembrance, and we start to march, right? We all start to march, and I really wanted to be at the front of the line, or the congregation, because the energy, my energy didn't feel like I belonged in the middle, in the fray of that. Not to say that I was some leader, no, but my energy felt like I wanted to be up front in this, right? So I'm with the pace car that I think was driven by like Nakima and a couple of other organizers and community members. They were pacing the march, right? And that's what you saw on Unicorn Riot was Nico, one of my very best friends here in my life, and He pulls me aside and is like, can you do a quick interview? And I do the interview. And in that moment, I realized that I was fed up, because I knew that once encountered, because we had not encountered any police at that point, no police presence at that point. But I knew once that I encountered them, that it was not going to be no more Black Lives Matter chants, no more, none of that, right? I, who knows what was going to happen, but I knew I was fed up. And sure enough, we get to Hiawatha, a group of people encounter the first squad car, and from there, things just escalated for me personally, to the point where when I literally personally ran to the precinct, to the third precinct. And let me say this with all, I'm shaking right now as I say this to you, and I'm saying this with all sensitivity and love. But when I got to the precinct, people were lounging on the steps, standing around, sitting on, literally sitting, standing around. So I get there and I just unload it with rocks on the front door, on that front window. I unload it, right? And I get met by 5 brothers, 5 African Americans. Bro, you gotta move around with that. You gotta leave. You gotta go. You making it unsafe for us right now. Hold up. I'm making it unsafe? Didn't the police already do that? And not only am I not making it not unsafe, I'm fighting for us right now. And none of, look, people want to bring up this looting, and my actions in throwing rocks at the precinct was nothing about destruction of nothing but the system. It wasn't even about the physical precinct. It was what the precinct represented. That's why I bust on the precinct like that. That's why my passion was to a point where I could not chant anymore. I couldn't walk anymore. But then when I met that opposition from my own brothers, from my own kind, who said that I had to leave because I was making it unsafe. And 2 things. One, in that moment, I didn't get it. I was very hurt and confused, and I just broke down, and I just uncontrollably sobbed and left, right? And the sister ran up to me as I'm leaving. She ran up to me and she's like, yo, brother, I just want to tell you that we need you. We need that passion. Ain't nobody out here fighting like that right now. So we need that passion. We need you. Please be safe. You know what I'm saying? And that was like a small sliver in that moment of like, okay, somebody heard me. Somebody had my back. But then I came home, and from Tuesday night up until about Thursday afternoonish, I just had to reflect. I had to turn off my phone. I had obviously no social media. No, I didn't talk to no one. I barely ate, um, did not sleep. Um, and I just had to reflect on what my role was as a Black man in this world, in this country. What is my role as a Black artist? Um, what's my role here specifically in Minneapolis? Um, and what I came to the conclusion was a couple of things. One was, um, that I am needed, and that I am, um, not in any selfish way, but I am important in this fight and in this movement, and that, as much positive, constructive change that I, um, can challenge people on, that's what I need to be contributing right now. And if Nakima or, um, TT Lyle Bediako or any of our community members hit me up and was like, Chad, we need you on the ground. We need you right here. We need your body. Of course, I'm going to be there. But honestly, at this point, I don't think that that's where my role is. My role isn't to be like right there, passionately displaying how passionate I am about this. I don't think that that's the arena for me right now. You know what I'm saying? It has to be a controlled, um, presence for me. So, um, then I had to think about that interaction with those 5 Black men who I thought did not have my back. That was my initial thing. I'm like, y'all don't even got my back.
Mhm.
Thinking and reflecting on that, they did nothing but have my back, right? And I know this because they were thinking of, let's not have another Black man dead. for no reason.
Right.
Not to say that this is no reason, but like we have a collective right here, and you individually doing that is jeopardizing what the collective is about right now, and also your personal life. And that's all we're talking about. And it's such a heated moment that that's not going to be relayed in the most calm way, or a way that I'm gonna get it, because you already, I told you where my mind was at. So it took time for me to reflect on that, and just to get to a point where I can now say thank you to those brothers. If
Mm.
any of them ever listen, or I'm just putting the energy out, thank you, and protecting them and their families. And so this whole thing has just been real reflective. I just did, there's been multiple things that have deeply affected me for this. I did. I was on Wednesday, because I have to eat, right? I decided I have to go out, and I walked to Kowalski's or somewhere over there on Hennepin and 25th. I'm in Uptown, so I'm walking there, and I'm off of Franklin. I live right down the street from Dessa, actually, and
Oh, I
so
think we live by each other.
oh, sweet.
I'm off
So I'm
Franklin and
walking.
Pillsbury.
Yep, right there. So I'm walking down the street, and I'm still in this stage of anger, just straight anger. And at the stoplight, um, a squad car pulls up at the stoplight, and I'm crossing the street, and I'm just like, "You murderers, racist murderers." I'm just saying that, because they got their window open, and it's so messed up. They didn't say sorry or not. They just waved at me. Have a nice day. Have a nice. That's what they said to me. Like, you think I'm gonna have a nice day as I'm saying this to you? Blew my mind, right? But out of nowhere, I hear, "Stop it!" I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I get across the street, and this little old white lady. She's like 60 years old. "Stop it! When are you people gonna learn?" What did you just say to me? Now, this is at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It's nothing but white people around me. Nobody said a word.
Mm.
Nobody. And I'm like, are y'all seeing this? And y'all ain't gonna say nothing at all. Right? And so I had to go off on the lady. Of course I did. But it just blows my mind. Like, I can't walk home. I, I can't express my anger. You can't understand why I want to express my anger. No one's going to come into my defense right now. I say all that to say this. I did an interview. I don't know if you've seen this. I'll forward you the link, for WGN News yesterday, yesterday at the site. No, sorry, Wednesday at the site. Uh, One of my good friends from grade school, his name is Mike Lowe. He's a reporter for WGN. He comes up here, to cover the memorial and the funeral service they held here. But he's like, man, you should really speak, and you should give your perspective on this. I think it's important, right? So I go and I do this interview, and he asked me a specific question about, like, Dr. King said the protest, or the voice of whatever. I'm paraphrasing. I don't
Yeah, the
completely
voice
know
of
it.
the unheard.
There you go. And he says, "What is America not hearing?" And I said that you're racist. Okay. Then I went on to explain to him what I meant, right? And what I meant was, the best way that I can explain it is this: it's all white people are born with privilege. You are born with a privilege that people of color, that I don't have, that no other people of color have, right? And to me, it's like being born with HIV. So you're born with HIV, right? And to not get full blown AIDS, you have to take, which is going to be racism. You're going to be a racist. You have to take at least 3 pills every day of your life, every day, to not become a full blown racist. One pill is, you have to check your privilege, and check yourself every day. And every time you slip up or whatever it is, check yourself, check your privilege. The second pill is, check your friends when they do, when they slip up, or they make some sly, or they are leaning towards that racist behavior. Check them. The third pill is, protect the people that do not look like you, that you think that you are better than, that you think your privilege allows you to treat any old type of way. Protect those people. right? Those are the 3 pills that you have to take every day as a white person to not get full-blown racism, which is AIDS.
Right.
And that's the best way that I can put it. And I'm not saying that look, one of my good friends, Amber Ace Cleveland, she said it. Because I'm not like, I've got a lot of people attacking me, but I'm not about to go and explain myself to all of these people who are supposed to get it, right? The point is this: I'm not saying that you're born in the KKK. No, I'm just saying that you're born with privilege. And the fact that you actually want to argue with me about that, you're proving my point right there, right? So I just, I pray, and I will continue to, again, constructively, passionately, and positively challenge and do my part in presenting the platforms for us to then have the conversations, right? That's all that's really what this is about on the basic level of us. We don't have millions we ain't got $44 million like the
Right.
NFL, or we don't. What we have is conversation. We have words. Those words are just as good as the currency. So let's use that. Don't look at. I'm not angry. I'm very passionate. Very, very passionate. There's no anger in me. The anger, and that's what I'm saying. The anger was when I was throwing rocks and all that. That's what I had to retreat and quell that. And that's what I've done, and refueled and refocused, and now it's about, we get to the music now, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where that came from. Literally, I've never created. First of all, I've never created like this. I just got my own first recording situation at my
Mm.
home via the quarantine, right? So everything happens for a reason, right? I was sitting here, I'm like, hey, I can't go to the studio. I'm a very prolific writer. I write and produce a lot of music, right? But if I can't go to the studio, I don't, guys can't mix my stuff. What am I supposed to be doing? So I invested in the first time. I'm 41 years old, been in this game since 2002. I put out my first record, right? Very first time that I've ever invested in my own equipment, my own recording process. And it's changed my life, saved my life, changed my life drastically, dramatically. And to be able to sit here. So like I said, Thursday afternoon, I was like, what are you gonna do now? What's your next step? And the part of that was, let's make some art, because that was brimming. It was just you know, I don't get writer's block. I've never had writer's block. That's just a thing that I've never had, because I don't my words and my songs and everything aren't coming from here. They're coming from inside of me.
Mm.
So how could I ever like um, the passion for the music and the passion for the art would have to be gone, or so, for me to not I'm always inspired to create. I ain't got nothing but my story to tell. I ain't got nothing but the opportunity to inspire other people. So it's just always there. But with this was a different zone I was in, Andrea, and it just came out in a completely different way. The words are just they hit differently. The beats, my boy, these are the whole EP was produced by another one of my very, very good friends, Brian Oman. He's the owner of Sexy Quality clothing apparel here. Just he's an amazing dude. But these beats, I didn't even know he made beats, and that's how also it all just comes together like that. And so um, Thursday when I put he like dumped a bunch of beats on my hard drive. So I plug in the hard drive, and the very first beat that came up was what became Burn It Down,
Mm.
the very last song on the EP. And then the second song that I wrote was the first song, I'm saying. So, and it all just came. It just came. And it was nothing. I barely even wrote. And that, I'm a big time writer, and that's one of those, you hear that a lot with Jay-Z and Biggie, like, oh, I don't write, this was just one. I think this is how they live. This must be the zone that they live in, because I'm a big time writer, but this was something where it just was like, let's just get to the microphone and let it go.
Mm.
And I just feel blessed and feel fortunate um, to be this, to be an instrument, and to lend the voice of the people. This ain't for me. This ain't me. This ain't me. That's why the cover is black,
Mm.
because I don't want. There's no credits, no nothing. Just listen to the music and the messages, and just let that absorb, get in your skin and absorb it, and for 12 minutes and I think 22 seconds it's long, escape. ponder, reflect, do what you do, be inspired to then go out and make your change and do how fight the fight the way you're gonna fight it. And so that's it.
Wow. It's so remarkable to me to think about just, within days of this event happening and with the experiences that you've just laid out that you're already writing, recording, and now it's coming out. I mean, what is it like to just have that direct pipeline out into the world and be able to express in this way?
Again, I'm fortunate because for two things. One, and this is not bragging or nothing, but I write a lot. You can ask Laserbeak, ask Pio, ask any of these guys. I am notorious for you give me a beat CD. This is how me and Laserbeak's relationship started. He gave me a beat CD, a beat CD. It was a beat CD that had like probably 20 beats on it. I came back with 12 songs, demos, like let's work, and so that's just how I work. And then again, to be able where our technology is to be able to record it, I've like so I got this set up April 10th. And I have extensive amount of years obviously in the studio, but I've never been behind the boards. So I've had to just sit here, and obviously we got time. So I've just sat here and just learned and just picked up as many tips and techniques on mixing and recording as I can, and just learned. And I got a new computer, and then just investing in myself and just really taking that real step of this is my art. This is the story I want to tell. I don't need a label. I don't need a distributor in terms of some guy telling me what I need to look like or what the sound is, what the current state of music is. And no, just let me do what I do, and that's what I do. So I'm blessed, man, and the music that I'm playing right now, this is my next album. We're ready to go. I was gonna release it in September, but after I'm gonna let I'm saying this EP do its thing for probably a month and a half, and I'm gonna put this out probably sometime in July because I think that people need this too. So we're just going. We're just going.
Wow, that's incredible. Um,
Me and
you've
Beak on the way too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You mentioned so many things that I want to ask you about, but I guess, I'm really curious about this idea of the, ground level view of what's been happening in Minneapolis, because you certainly aren't seeing it accurately represented in the national media and in some cases in the local media as well. It's just missing a lot of what's going on in the streets with people, having conversations, having action. Tell me more about, what's missing from the narrative right now and what you've seen here in Minneapolis.
Big, 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 huge shout out to Unicorn Riot on that front, right? Because that's where we why is there not like 10 unicorn riots, you know? Um on the ground, and this is even from, like I said, like I haven't personally, I haven't one felt like the need per se to be out there. The numbers are clearly there, right? But also, I just feel like I'm such a target in terms of like my black skin. I'm walking around with a dumb Trump shirt on, and we had white supremacists and Trump supporters and undercover cops and all these different agitators that have been placed in our community now. That like I'm not again. I have to recognize where I'm most effective, and I'm not gonna just be out there. Recklessly. So I haven't spent an extensive amount of time specifically in the streets. Now, what I definitely am looking forward to doing is helping clean up as much as I possibly can. Um, and what I can't tell you is that the energy is nothing but pure love from the people that are, again, part of the movement. I just said something to a friend of mine. Forever, this feels different, right? Forever and forever, again, with Jamar and Philando and Rakia and Sandra and Laquan and Freddie and Walter and Eric and the list goes on and on. It felt like we were either uh, standing still or running in place, right? But this feels like we're actually going forward. And that's the definition. That's the actual hardcore meaning of movement, right? So I'm really proud of Minneapolis's role in kind of sparking this, like, we're tired, and don't it, stop with the don't focus on the looting. Don't even don't do not focus on the looting. That is, to me, again, this national media narrative that is supposed to detract you from the actual problem and the actual solutions that are going on. Minneapolis is in this is really groundbreaking and just so inspiring. I just feel so humbled and fortunate to be witnessing this. Like, Minneapolis is about to defund the police. They're about to disband the police here. That's about to happen. That It's already happening, but I mean on a complete level, we're not about to see police walking around here anymore.
Hmm.
If that's if what I'm seeing and the council members, the way they're talking, that's what's going to happen. And that I don't that is the biggest historical part of this so far. And it's just one step. And it's just, people have asking me, so what do you think is next? Well, actually, the very first step, let's get these guys behind bars. That is the very next first step. We literally can't move forward if we don't see that. If we don't see those 4 men behind bars serving multiple years in prison, we won't be able to move forward. So that has to happen. That has to be the next thing that happens in our movement forward. So, and I honestly am hopeful, and I know it's going to happen. I'm putting that energy out there, and I'm putting that faith and belief that it's going to happen. I believe in Keith Ellison. I believe in the transformation of at least the Hennepin County justice system right now. It seems like they're trying. So yeah, I'm so proud and so happy to be a part of everything that Minneapolis has stood for in this peaceful, positive, constructive, progressive protest.
Yeah. There was something that the governor said the other day that really stuck out to me. He said, "This is our last chance to get this right. Like
That's what I mean.
this has to change." And also, there's so many amazing moments in the Reverend Al Sharpton's eulogy
Yeah,
yesterday. But when he pointed out, kind of almost as an aside, it really just I hadn't thought about it this way, but because we have been in a coronavirus shutdown and many of us have not had the usual distractions, we were able to fully turn our attention towards addressing
yeah.
this for the first time. And that, I don't know, that just filled me with so much hope that maybe this can actually change, that
Like,
we
it
can really
won't
confront
die.
it. Yeah,
Like, it's not a weekend issue.
right. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
we
going to
get to
just get
Monday
out
and
of
then the
the.
fight's over.
Exactly. And it was very powerful to announce that there's going to be this march on Washington in late August. So now we have a summer of,
Yep,
things that are going to keep this momentum moving forward.
yep.
You mentioned you already are planning on releasing more music. What do you think you're also going to be doing over these next few months?
Like I said, just trying to figure out ways to physically get involved. Definitely, I want to help clean up the north side, clean up anything that I possibly can. Um, I live in Uptown, but I have such a connection with the north side. I'm from the south side of Chicago, and so it really reminds me of the south side of Chicago, the north side of Minneapolis, just in terms of the identification with the black people, the black constituents, and just the feel of when I walk into the neighborhood, and just yeah, I love everything about the north side, and so I want to do as much as I can physically about to help them. Trying to get back into serving some type of youth. I teach after school with We Win Institute, a nonprofit organization that services uh, kids on the north and south side. Um, and because of Corona, we've been impacted with the educational system, and so just trying to figure out how I can give back to the youth some way. I coach as well, so
Mhm.
maybe doing something like that in this summer. Um, and just keep going and just keep figuring it out. I'm still figuring it out as far as just like what am I supposed to be doing? And it's a day-to-day thing, and I'm called to service. I'm called to serve others. And so again, if when I'm called, I'm there. I want to be there. So I'm just trying to keep myself good mentally, take care of myself, physically take care of myself, drink water, eat food. I don't do that all the time.
Mm.
I tend to think that rhymes are my food, but it's beats are my food, but that's really not it. So just taking care of myself and just trying to be a good human being.
Yeah. One thing I forgot to ask you about is that you had posted that the proceeds from the album, and I know Bandcamp's giving over all proceeds today for the album,
Yeah,
are going to be going towards specific foundations or organizations. Can you say a little more about that?
yeah. I haven't done specific research in terms of which organizations I want to give to. Um, and again, I know that I want to give to the North Side. There's going to be an organization, whether it's um, the social or racial justice network or something juxtaposition. So I'm going to give to something on the North Side, and I'm going to give something on the South Side of Chicago. Like I said, these are my two home communities. I have been living in Minneapolis for 11 years now. This is my home. This is my literal home. Chicago, I was born and raised and lived the first 30 years of my life there. That is my home. You can never take neither one of these from me. These are always going to be my home, no matter where I go to next or whatever happens. So, like I said, I identify mostly and most closely to the South Side and North Side here. So those are two neighborhoods and communities I'm going to give back to. I haven't figured out specifically yet, though.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with everything that's going on and all the incredible work that you've been doing. And thank you so much for releasing this music today. I really resonated deeply with me, and I really appreciate your effort and your voice.
Thank you. I appreciate the platform, appreciate the opportunity, appreciate you listening, and hope it helps. And that's part of this. I just want this music to help heal. That's it. Just help. Just let go of some stuff. Whether that's anger or resentment or ignorance. Let's just let go of some stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I like it. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Andrea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this was great. Good to talk to you.
for sure. Talk to you soon.